Here's your host, Alana.
Welcome back to the Alana Show, where real stories meet real purpose. Today, we have an extraordinary guest whose journey together is the stuff that motivates, inspires, and reminds us what great leadership looks like, not just on the field, but in life. Joining us is Coach Steve Cisneros, a quiet force behind some of football's top quarterbacks, with over 35 years of experience and a legacy that includes coaching talents like E.J. Manuel, Geno Smith, and NFL stars. Coach Cisneros is known not just for his technique, but for his heart. His approach, faith-filled, intentional, and centered on lifting up every athlete he works with. Alongside him, we're honored to welcome Caden Veltkamp. You can find Caden on Instagram at CRVELT Camp with a K. Caden is the 2024 Conference USA Offensive Player of the Year, a standout quarterback now at Florida Atlantic University. Caden's rise from a 3-star high school prospect to a Division I star is a testament to talent, work ethic, and the value of strong mentorship. So let's talk football, faith, perseverance, and the foundation of greatness. Caden, welcome to South Florida and to the Alana Show.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Anytime. You started your college journey with big potential, but really turned heads in 2024. What was that moment like when you stepped into that starting role and owned it?
It was awesome, just getting the opportunity to finally step on the field as a guy in a college environment. It was something that I always felt like I could do, and just finally getting the opportunity to be out there and it kind of be my show. I feel like I really embraced it.
Awesome. I love it. And then Coach Steve, thank you for being here with us. You've coached some of the best. What was it about Caden that made you believe he had something truly special, both as an athlete and as a young man, from all your experience?
No, I think, the first time I met him, he just came across as, a very well-mannered, classy individual who really looked out for a lot of his teammates. I met him at a particular event, and we just started talking football and throwing mechanics, and I'm sure he thought I was kind of odd, but we kind of had a long, lengthy throwing mechanic conversation, and he's just, a great kid. And, I think that, from all I've seen or read about him, I mean, it's pretty unique. I'm sure he's heard about what John Gruden, who's a real quarterback guru, said about him. He's probably one of the most, underrated quarterbacks right now in college football, and he's probably one of the top 3 in the country. John Gruden's words, not mine. So.
Wow. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
And Caden, who was your biggest inspiration?
Growing up, I'd probably say my mom and my dad, just because of the way that they work. They showed me, what hard work meant, and how to do that. And a lot of the things that people notice in my game today, are things that my parents taught me. So I really look up to both of them.
Awesome, I love that. Now, do you have any history of football in your family? Or are you one of the first to, not only college, but be a very serious prospect for?
Yeah, so my little brother's actually a freshman at Georgia Southern. He plays linebacker, so obviously that was after me. Then my dad played offensive line at Carroll College, so football's kind of running the family for a while now.
Beautiful. I love that. All right, and then can you talk about what it's like to have incredible coaches and mentors in your corner?
Yeah, it means a lot just to have people that are surrounding me. It's always nice to have support because there was a time in my career, when I felt like there wasn't very many people. It was just my family, my parents, and some other people close to me. So now to have so many people and so many coaches in my corner, it means a lot, and it just drives me to want even more.
Lovely. I love it. And then how has that support shaped your confidence on and off that field? You said you experienced it without the full support. Obviously your family was there. But how does that shape, inspire you? Yeah,
I think it gives you more confidence just because there's so many people that believe in you. But before you can do that, you gotta find it within yourself to be confident, and not just in football but in life. And but now having so many people in my corner and supporting me, like I said, just makes me want it even more and gives me a ton of confidence.
Cool. Did you know you wanted to be a quarterback?
I've played quarterback on and off growing up through elementary school, middle school, and whatnot. But once I got to high school, my freshman year, I was strictly a quarterback, and I didn't play anything else.
Very cool. And then to both of you, so much of football is mental. How do you work together to build not just arm strength, but mindset, especially under pressure?
Yeah, I think, just putting yourself in situations where, you're doing hard stuff, whether it's in the weight room, on the field, in conditioning, and then getting thrown in the fire in an actual 11-on-11 setting in practice and that type of thing. I think that all builds confidence. And then when you're actually on the field and you've actually played in games and you have real game experience, I think that builds a lot of confidence as well. Just because, when you're out there, you got to learn. And if you don't, you're not going to be a good player.
Mm-hmm. And I imagine, training is very intense. It's nerve-wracking maybe going on the field your first time or exciting, and you're obviously passionate about it. How do you, what keeps you going? Let's just say you're super tired and at the end of the day, and then you got to get up for training. What's your mindset there? I mean, it's incredible what you're doing. Yeah, for me,
I base everything around the season. So our first game's against Maryland, and when I'm tired, I think, what are those guys doing up there? They're probably working. They're probably working harder than me, and that just drives me to go even farther and work even harder. Just knowing that there's other people out there that have the same goals as me and want the same things, and if I want to achieve those goals, I have to work harder than those people.
Mm-hmm. Do you look up any specific athletes growing up?
Did I look up to any?
Yeah, or your top three maybe.
I liked Peyton Manning a lot. When my family lived in Louisville, Kentucky, our neighbor was a very big Colts fan, and I was young, 3-4 years old, and so I was like, I like the Colts too, and I liked Peyton growing up, and then other than that, there hasn't really been anybody that I really look up to per se. There's guys that I try to model my game after, or that I watch and I try to take things from, like Josh Allen or Justin Herbert. They're both built similar to me. So those are two guys that I watch, and I'm like, okay, what do they do? How do they play? How do they move? That type of thing. Mm-hmm.
And then Caden is on Instagram at CR Veltkamp. So much of football is mental. What do you think about that?
No, I agree.
Pressure and from your experience?
I liked a lot of what he said. Some of the things I would ask him is, you like how people, when you're on top, everyone comes out of the woodwork. So what are some of the things that you've had to kind of figure out, as now that you're, all these great things are being said about you? I mean, what keeps you grounded when you were that backup at Western Kentucky? You were that overlooked high school kid that maybe lost an offer here and there. I mean, what do you do to, keep focused and
stay humble? You're very humble.
Yeah. Well, I got that from my parents. That's another thing my parents taught me growing up, being respectful and being humble. And, I would say to your question, Steve, just, I'm not on social media a whole bunch. I try to stay off of it. Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss calls it rat poison, and I really like that. I see it every once in a while, and, it's great, to get that love. But I'm not where I want to be yet. I'm not even close, to be honest with you. And, just knowing that, and that I'm not even close to where I want to be, pushes me to go even farther.
That's good. No, I mean, I coach, again, at a high school here, big name high school, and we had a quarterback competition, and it was really neat to see a kid come in from out of state and just raise the level of competition. And I don't know, it's not my call, but I don't know if this particular guy who has major arm strength is going to win the position, but it may be one of the younger kids that really came up and managed the game well. So I always feel that it's an issue when you have a quarterback with a big arm, that sometimes, you're going to take that risk. And, we all saw the Brett Favre documentary where he would just try to muscle it in between, two players. How do you patent your game? I mean, the mental game versus your physical attributes. What do you rely on most?
A little bit of both. I'd say a lot of my mental. If you watch any of my games, any of the tape, any of the TV copies, or you see me play in person, you see me. I'm always the same. I don't change. I don't get super excited after touchdowns, and after I throw a pick, you couldn't tell. Which again comes from my dad and my mom. They taught me that growing up. whether things are going good or bad, you got to stay the same. And I think I rely on that a lot, and it keeps me grounded during the game. And then, you know, once I'm in the locker room after the game, after a win, then obviously I'm super excited. But during the game, just staying grounded. And in terms of the physical part, you know, I'm a big time, you know, get the ball to my playmakers. They're better athletes than me, better with the ball in their hands. And I'm just a distributor. That's what I do. And then, you know, when it comes time for me to make a play, I'm athletic enough that I can use my feet and create outside the pocket, whether it's running or getting outside the pocket and making a throw. You know, I feel like I can do all that. But the main part of my game is distributing the football to our guys.
That's what I always tell kids, young kids I coach. Your job is to get the ball to the athletes, and that's not you. And, you know, another thing, when you say throwing interceptions, you'll like this young kid who's he's a coach at Abilene Christian with Graham Harrell and went to, you know, same school, Mahomes, as a quarterback, and ended up, you know, just doing what he could do. He was on special teams, but he threw 4 interceptions one game out at Weston, Florida, and his dad wanted me to take him out of the game. I said, I'm not taking him out of the game. Those passes were good. They just were to the wrong person, or our receivers didn't move out. And some of the things I try to do, you know, working with quarterbacks, is that, you know, you're nervous enough. I mean, back in my days, I used to drop back and your head's bouncing around, you're trying to, you know, go with the ball. But this kid ended up coming back, much like yourself, and we won the game. And so I think as a coach, what I try to do is just keep things light, believe in the kid, because they're under a lot of stress. I mean, you got to remember, he gets a play, he's got to remember, he's got to say the play, he's got to call the coverage on, you know, where he's blocking. If he makes if he makes a mistake, he's getting sacked. He's got an advantage because he's 6'6" and can see other people.
Seems pretty even keel. I feel like he's like this on the field. Are you?
Like right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He just doesn't know us. I want to see him. I want to see him a little more.
Which reminds me, what is your favorite memory so far? Whether high school, elementary, if you have two, I would love, like, just on the field, your first, like, big, like, that was incredible.
So we won the state championship my freshman year, and I was the backup quarterback that season behind one of my best friends, Gavin Spurrier. And he ended up going to Duke, and, you know, we stayed in touch. But, you know, I think winning that first year as a backup kind of set the groundwork for me, and I, you know, watched how Gavin worked and how he prepared for games and, you know, that kind of thing. And we've literally stayed in touch through the years, every week, talking about every single game I played in. And, you know, I think seeing that my freshman year was huge for me. And then, you know, once I was the guy, we didn't win the next 2 years. And then my senior year, we won the state championship. And I think that was a big moment for me. And, you know, something I'll never forget. It was big time for our class. It was expected that we were going to win, you know, that year. So the fact that we ended up doing it, that was a huge moment in my football career, and, you know, it gave me a lot of confidence. You know, I'm trying to get back to that point, you know, winning a championship, and that's our goal at FAU this year is to win the American.
Very good. Well, we'll pray about that, and I can totally see it happening.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love the conviction. All right, Caden, what's your vision going forward? NFL dreams, personal growth, leadership, and how are you preparing for the next level?
Yeah, I think I kind of answered, you know, the vision question. My vision right now is, you know, we're chasing the American Conference Championship. But it starts week 1 with Maryland, and, you know, going up there and playing well, I think we have a chance to win that one. And, you know, just preparing our guys and being a good leader off the field and on and off the field. And, you know, I think we're doing a good job of that through the offseason. And as we continue to build relationships in the offseason, you know, we're only going to get better as a team. So, you know, right now I'm pretty focused on Maryland. Other than that, you know, I don't really have a lot of other visions. I mean, I have an idea of what I want to do, but, you know, right now a lot of my focus is on Maryland and winning the conference. Very
good. How do you prepare for that without giving your secrets away? Physical, dietary.
I mean, who would I give my secrets away? Or you do mean right now?
No, yeah. Like, what are you doing to, like, what does your training look like when you're, you know, in the?
So we have our workouts, our team workouts and stuff, our conditioning, our lifts and stuff, and then, you know, for me, I'm I'm hot tub, cold tub, T-spine mobility during the day, and then at night I'm doing another mobility session, just in my apartment, just to stay loose, because when you are 6'6", you get stiff if you don't stretch. So I have a lot of stretching in my routine. I did in the spring as well, and but being back for a week and a half now, I've kind of got into this routine that I'll have throughout the summer, and then once we hit fall camp.
You really get into it for fall camp?
Yeah.
What does that schedule look like? Is it like every day?
So fall camp, I'm not really sure because I haven't been here, but camp universally is, you're going 3, 4, 5 days on, and then you get 1 day off, and you're practicing every day, you're meeting every day, you're lifting every other day, you're doing mobility with the strength coaches every other day. So we're in the building from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Getting prepared for game one.
Very cool. All right, and so Coach Steve, you've often said it's not about me, it's about the people I coach. Why is that humility so important in your coaching philosophy?
Because I think, maybe Caden will be able to expound upon this as well. But I think with a lot of, coaches, I deal with a lot of high school kids, a lot of kids younger, it's always about, what coach they're working with. It's really nobody's, business. So it's not about me. It's not, oh, hey, I work with him. We've talked football, but it's not like I'm going to try to hitch my wagon to.
Well, what is
Caden
some of your
Veltkamp.
Background that keeps you passionate about helping, kids like Caden or,
I just
or
see,
young adults?
I've coached a lot of places, whether it's H.D. Woodson High School in Washington, D.C., having coached a kid like Byron Leftwich, Eddie McGee, who went to Illinois, and, St. Edward's High School out of Cleveland, Ohio, which he knows is a big-time high school, whether it's the kids I've worked with at Hoban, which is a big-time high school, now at St. Thomas Aquinas, just good kids. And I think that, the one thing that they say about him, that, forget his size, forget his speed, forget his arm strength, he's an extremely accurate kid. And, and a lot of, that's the most important, because if I can't get the ball to that running back or that, tight end, and he's got a top tight end in the country at his school too. I think, I hate to change the subject, but fantastic things are going to happen at Florida Atlantic, and not with just Caden, but just the addition of all the other good
just
players.
A good team.
Well, and there's good synergy, and he's
awesome.
And he's the catalyst. But yeah, it's not really like he had said earlier. He didn't really talk much about himself, and he's sitting here stone faced. But he's he's already talked about other players. It's his job to get the ball to the. I'll use my quote, to the athletes. It's not really about him. So, as we work together, it's like, it's, what we say at our schools, it's you go, we go. It's how he goes and the team together that really helps. And I think playing football in college, and when I say it helps you out, like he still thinks and cares about, just the things I pick up, the kids at Western Kentucky. He still has a Western Kentucky keychain. Everywhere you go, it's a team. It's kind of like a family. Mm-hmm. And so he's just, his tentacles out into wherever he is and wherever he's played, it's good. And, if he was a bad kid, you would know it. And now that he's a good kid, everybody knows those good quality things. So I guess through sports, he can evangelize and spread good cheer. And, I always say my religion's kindness. So I think that's the same with him as well.
Very cool. And then do you have, what is kind of your prospects for... Well, your future. Like, can you say, like?
I don't really want to comment on it right now. I know what I would like to do.
Very
but
good.
I don't
That's
really
fine.
comment on it.
It's kind of reminds me of my daughter would tell you right now. Knock on wood. Don't jinx me, Dad. But,
no, I know. Yeah, but
I think I can speak to his prospects.
Let me ask you this: actually, outside of football, what are you passionate about? And did you play any other sports?
I did. I played basketball in high school for 3 years, and I really enjoyed it. But I graduated early, so I couldn't play my last year. I like playing basketball. It's good conditioning. I haven't got to play any since I've been down here. I play a little bit of golf. I'm not very good. I like to watch movies with my roommate, but other than that, I really don't do a whole lot.
Have you seen Rudy?
I have seen Rudy.
It's such a good movie. I love that movie.
My roommate does not like that movie at all.
Why?
So we haven't watched it.
Is he a football player?
Yeah, he's my slot receiver at Florida Atlantic, and
such a great movie.
He just thinks it's a little cliche. So
well, it's original, isn't it?
Yeah.
Notre Dame. Well, Rudy did it, yeah. Which reminds me, an inspiration. You know, I know you say you don't do too much like social media, but you know, what would you tell kids in high school? Maybe getting overlooked, or that when you were in that position one time and now you've really blossomed.
Yeah, like I said earlier, you gotta have confidence in yourself, and to be honest, that's the main thing. Like that's what's gonna start it all for you. If you're a confident person in general, like in the real world, not just in football, like it's going to take you places, and I think it translates to football as well. If you're confident in your ability to do something, then you're going to actually be able to go out and do it. If you don't think you can do something, you're not going to have confidence in doing it yourself.
Mm-hmm. They have a good mindset. Yeah.
So yeah, I would say just have confidence in yourself and think you can do it. Think you can do anything you put your mind to, and that's the first step to anything. Incredible.
We have to thank your parents for doing such a good job.
Yeah, that's good. I like what you said, because I always say that the quarterback position is the most political position in sports, and the best kid doesn't always play. Mm-hmm. So,
what's the biggest challenge?
Playing quarterback.
Yeah. And just, intense sports in general. That's quite the feat to make it where you are now, and just looking at your future, obviously, is brilliant.
Yeah. I would say the toughest part of playing the position is just, being a leader on the day-to-day, inside of football, outside of football, like, I went home during the month of May, and it would be so easy to just sit there. And I'm in Kentucky. My teammates all live in Florida and Georgia, and they're all down here. And I was calling them, checking in on them, and making sure they were all good, they were having a good break, and that type of thing. And then when I'm on the field, just like being the manager, and it's the same. Like it never shuts off. The leadership piece never shuts off for me, and. So just having those relationships with people, and that's been the toughest part of transferring is, you come in and you don't know 110 guys. So, you got to build new relationships with all these people in a set amount of time. We had 8 months before our first game whenever I got here. So I think just building those relationships with people, and, I'm a very, personable person with my teammates. So, building the relationships is not hard, but I would say, once you get to that point, just managing all those relationships at once, that's probably the hardest part for most quarterbacks, just because there might be guys on your team that you don't like, and not for me. I like my whole team at FAU, but, you're not always going to get along with everybody, so how do you manage those relationships with the guys that you don't really like as much?
Mm-hmm. Or those, internally, between others on the field and things like that. Yeah. Well, that's beautiful. I like that a lot. Steve, what advice would you give to young athletes or families listening, those chasing dreams and wondering what it really takes?
No, I think he touched upon it earlier I always tell people, well, as you know, parents can get a little wacko with their kids and their training, and I've had to tell parents, the best thing you can do for your kid is just give them a hug and tell them you love them. Mm-hmm. And the best thing I tell kids is no one's going to love you like your parents. That being said, also, parents, when they act wacko, I share with quarterbacks that, remember, you're not your parents. You just came through your parents. So we want to take the good things that our parents do and expand upon them, and then try to change the things within our parents that aren't so positive. So, I'd like to, ask Caden, when you go home, do you look out and try to find young kids and work with them? I know even old Steve here, I'll drive around Wichita, Kansas, and if I see people throwing the ball, they're obviously not doing it the right way, I'll get out and go throw with them and teach them and things like that. That kind of happened, with a number of kids. Is throwing and coaching, and is that something you enjoy doing, or is it still just so much stress?
Have you dabbled in that, with the younger kids?
Yeah, a little bit. We had our Florida Atlantic football prospect camp yesterday, and So, like, working with high schoolers, that's great. The phone call I took right before was about working our little kids camp on Monday. So, I've done it in that aspect, and, you know, I do enjoy that and, you know, giving back. And when I was home, I was actually throwing with two eighth graders, and then two college guys. But, you know, just letting those guys come out, because, like, that means the world to them. They're eighth graders, and they're like, I'm throwing with a college football quarterback. Like, it was awesome. And so me and my buddy Gavin Wimsett, who plays quarterback at Jack State, we threw with those two guys when I was home. And then, you know, like, after camp yesterday, there was an eighth grader that walked up to me and just asked me about my routine and, you know, what I do on the day-to-day. And I literally showed him my phone, because it's my wallpaper, my routine every day. And I was like, look, this is what I do. Like, it was great to meet you. Like, let me know if you got anything. And I really appreciate that. Like, I like when little kids come talk to me and ask me questions and that type of thing, because I remember being that kid growing up and, you know, wanting to be around college guys and thinking it was the coolest thing ever.
Cute. I love
Can
that.
I ask him, what is your routine?
Like I said earlier, like, we got our lifts and our conditioning and that kind of thing, and then I'm hot tub, cold tub, T-spine mobility during the day, and then another mobility session at night, and then going over our PRP scripts whenever I get home and that type of thing.
When is your first game?
August 31st, we play at Maryland.
When is the first home game?
The first home game?
Yeah.
I don't know what the date of it is. It's week 2.
Where can we find that?
It's on ESPN. I can look it up right now.
Okay. Yeah, you take a second to look that up. And
So when you're not in season, I'm going to ask this, because this is the routine I thought he was going to get, because it reminds me of how many balls a day would you throw?
So we're only throwing 3 times a week right now. I'm throwing on Tuesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. Those other days are my off days. There's no point in throwing, you know, 5-6 times a week. Your arm's going to fall off.
Yeah.
And, you know, so in the off season, we were throwing 3 or 4 times a week. Then we get to spring ball, we're throwing about 3 or 4 times a week still. Summer, you know, you ramp it down. I went home and I was probably throwing 2 times a week. And then now that we're back, I'm back throwing 3. And then when we hit fall camp, I'm going to be throwing every day. Season, I'm going to be throwing almost every day. So, you know, you can't do too much in the off season. You have to find a good balance. And it is hard sometimes, though, because you're like, well, am I doing enough to get better? And then if you are doing too much and you start to get hurt, then you got to tone it back down. So you kind of just got to find the sweet spot in the middle.
When you say you get hurt, where do you feel the pain?
I've never had pain in my shoulder throwing the ball. I fractured my growth plate in my shoulder in my 7th grade, going into 8th grade summer. So I didn't play quarterback my 8th grade year, but that was the only time I ever hurt my arm, and I was playing baseball. I wasn't even playing football. All
right, last question. So let's just say there's a bad play on the field. How do you get your mind out of that? Or do you just keep driving forward?
Like I said, I'm even, like, you wouldn't know. I'm moving on. I'm moving on to the next play. You know.
Perfect. All right. I love it. Very humble.
As a coach, we tell them you got to be a goldfish, man.
Yep. May God bless all you do. And thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much. Our first home game's on the 6th. We play FAMU at home, Florida A&M.
August 6th?
On September 6th.
September 6th?
Yep.
All right. Well, I'm going to be there for sure. I hope others will. And then Coach Steve and Caden, thank you both for being here today. What you've shared goes far beyond football. It's about mentorship, perseverance, and purpose. To everyone listening, whether you're raising a young athlete, coaching a team, or just finding your way through life's playbook, remember this: talent might open the door, but character and support keep you in the game. We'll be watching, cheering, and praying for you. Caden and Coach Steve, thank you for being the kind of leader who doesn't need a spotlight to make an impact. This is the Alana Show, and we'll be right back. Thank you.